welcome to Everyday Board Games Review. This is the review channel to our Everyday Board Games podcast, and today we're going to be coming with you with a review for The Gang.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! So the way we do reviews, if you're familiar with our podcast or anything else that we've done reviews for, we have a pretty unbiased way of reviewing. We have 5 criteria called our G.A.M.E.R criteria. We'll go into more detail when we get there, and as we go through each of those criteria, we either give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That is called giving it a Daniel, as per my host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
And so it can get a possible 0 to 10 Daniels based on our criteria.
Yeah.
Taking our bias out of the game. So today we're reviewing The Gang from Cosmos Games. The designer, a cooperative poker game.
There's a couple designers.
Yeah, there's a couple designers. This... In a nutshell, do you want to explain how the game works?
Do you like poker? Do you like deduction? That's basically what it is, except for it's co-op as well. You're trying to build the best poker hand and rank your hand, saying, if I have the best hand or if I have the worst hand based off of poker hands. You have a shot 5 rounds of trying to get it done, so you got to do the initial...
Best of 5.
Yeah, so you get the initial draw where you get your 2 cards. It's Texas Hold'em, by the way. And then every time you're going around, you're trying to rank your hands. It's like, oh, this happens. Oh, the flop just happened. My hand just got better. So I think I am actually 2 now rather than 4 if you're playing a 4-player game. And you're basically ranking it all the way till all hands are finished and done. And then you're trying to make sure you're successful. 3 misses, you lose the game. And then you're trying to flip over 5 different treasure cards. So 5 hits gives you the treasures. 3 loses the game for you. So you're basically triggering alarms, I think is what it's called in the game. There is also advanced rules where it gives you special bonuses or penalties as you're going throughout the game, either to make it harder or easier for you as you're playing.
Very good. So again, cooperative Texas Hold'em. So let's get into our criteria. As always, I will flip the coin of doom. That'll determine who talks first. And we'll start first with game immersion.
And when we're talking about that, is the game fun to lose? Is there player interaction, table talk, role-playing, and that leads to those fun, memorable moments that make you stand up and shout at a game store? And for me, this is probably by far the easiest Daniel on this list because the game is fantastically fun to lose. If you're either way, you're playing the advanced game or you're playing the regular game. It's really fun because you're sitting there and there is a lot of player interaction with this too because you're talking, but you can't talk exactly in your hand what your hand is in your hand. So if I got a pair of pocket aces, I'd be like, I have a really good hand. You guys are not going to beat me if we're just doing like with these. So I'm just taking this. I have the best hand because what I have here, you guys ain't beating me.
Right.
But you're trying to give as much clues to your opponents what you're holding in your hand without saying exactly what you have in your hand.
Or even implying what it could be, right?
What it could be, yeah. So there's a lot of wiggle rooms. There is that memorable moment. It's like, and then something comes up where it's like 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, I still have my pocket aces, but I don't know if I have the best one now, because, or like say 3, 4, 5, because aces could be, depending on how you play your poker, aces can be part of the straight. So if you're doing a 1 or 11 type thing. But you're like sitting there like, I don't know. There's a 3, 4, 5. Is someone running a flush now or running a straight or whatever the heck's out there? Because it could be like 3, 4, 5 of diamond. Is someone got a straight flush going on? I got pocket aces. I'm not running that right now.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing. And you're just going through all that. So this, like I said, is the easiest Daniel for me.
All right. This wouldn't be the easiest Daniel for me personally. It is fun to lose, and it does have memorable moments. The only thing is player interaction. I don't think it really has player interaction because it forces you not to have player interaction. That's kind of the point of it. It's one of those games where, like many co-op games like this, where there's hidden information, it's how do you say stuff without saying stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so the only thing that the rulebook says that you're allowed to do is take poker chips, right?
Yeah.
And so you have, like, at a 4-player game, you have 4 poker chips, and it's ranked 1 to 4, right? So if I have a really good hand, I'm going to jump towards that 4, but once you take it, you can't put it back, right?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to give information, and everyone just kind of has a gentleman's agreement. It's like, yeah, we can talk a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do you feel right now? I'm feeling pretty confident. Okay, well then, let's go ahead and take this. It's like, well, now when suddenly that came up, then my mind is
my confidence level went down.
Yeah, right. I'm dropping to this, and you can see how that is. But technically, you're not really supposed to talk. So player interaction, I can't give that. Also, thematically wise, like you're robbing a bank, which doesn't make sense with poker at all. So just take that as you will. You know,
Yeah.
this is not a thematic game.
That's why we don't rank the theme anymore in game
Right,
immersion.
but player interaction goes with it, like table talk, role
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
along with it. I don't feel like I'm a gangster playing this, like really. But I will give it memorable moments and fun to lose because it's fun whether you're playing with the special abilities or not. So this is a Daniel for me.
All right, moving on to art and production.
That's right, art and production.
When we're talking about that, the art, the pieces and components, and the graphic design. Fairly simple. A lot of this is subjective, especially when it comes to the art. For me, the art is okay. There's a little bit of art on the bank cards, and there's a little bit of art on the face cards. It's decent poker cards. The pieces and component quality, though, this is where it hits. The poker chips are really nice in here. That's your ranking system, and you have different sets based on the different hands. Plus, the card stock is really well done. The graphic design is very easily readable, just for the simple fact that it is cards. If you know how to read playing cards, you know how to read it. And the powers are pretty self-explanatory because they have it written on those cards. So I will give this a Daniel. The art, again, it's iffy. It's decent cards. I've seen better looking cards, but to give a relatively cheap price point, though, that cover is striking. I do love that cover.
Super shiny. It's hard to tell
on camera.
On camera, yeah.
But, so that will get a Daniel for me.
Art and production easily gets a Daniel for me. This is my top notch. And as a playing card collector, I was already going to buy this just because it's a playing card themed board game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, those poker chips are plastic with a weighted core, so they have a chunk of metal in it.
Yeah.
They feel nice and heavy. The cards are good quality. They shuffle. They feel real well. They're going to last you a long time. They're decent quality playing cards. Not the best quality, but I'm also buying, decks of cards for like $40-$50 sometimes, and I need high quality. So with that being said, I mean that's my expectations are a lot higher, but this is better than a standard deck of cards oftentimes. Like it's gonna be cheaper than a dollar store deck for better. And the fact that they sell this for $15 is massive. That's a great production.
Yeah.
It is brilliant. It is cool how it works, and it's very clear on how graphic design pieces, it couldn't have been done better. They didn't have any missteps with this, as far as I can tell. So, easy Daniel for me.
Yep.
Now we're going to be going on to Meaningful Choice.
That's me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Impact on another player's strategy, depth, strategy, tactics, or skill, and do arbitrary choices or AP make an impact on the game. Now, here's my issue with this. I think it's going to get a Daniel for me, but I have to really go through it because there is a lot of impact on other players, especially if people are not familiar with poker. And my wife was someone who wasn't familiar with poker. She never played poker. I played poker in college, so I'm very familiar with it. When I was in college, kids, poker was really big. That was the craze of Texas Hold'em. So it was a while ago, right? So I'm very familiar with poker. Yeah. But that is going to impact people because they don't know poker, especially when it comes to the depth of strategy, tactics, or skill. So if you're a poker player, you already know how the hand's ranking just by what you're seeing on the table. And luckily, they give you a guide that explains hand rankings for people who are not familiar with it. But that's going to slow things down because they have to look at stuff and be like, okay, I'm not sure if I have a good hand or not a good hand. And so teaching that in the beginning for people, and we'll go into the other section here in a little bit, but that can lead to problems with it or the AP because they're trying to figure out what their hands are. I am going to give it to a Daniel because it does impact other players based on what you're doing because you're working as a co-op. And there is a lot of strategy because you have to be smart of how you're playing your game and familiar with poker. And you're trying to help other players who don't know poker. It's like, okay, look at the ranking. Do you know where you're at? And you're explaining that. But there is some strategy and tactics in there. There is, because of the advanced games, when you have those cards that come up that says, oh, by the way, once you take a poker token, you can't exchange it out, or if it's the last poker token is taken, then or someone takes it, and there's different rules of how this game works. That's really going to mess with your strategy and stuff like that. So I will give it. There is a little bit of AP, and that's mainly because for new players who don't know how to play poker, or you're teaching pokers to new players. It is going to be that, but I will give it a Daniel because there is a lot of thought process that you have to go through in this one.
So this one, there's no choice in the game. Yes, I mean technically, yeah. You're picking the poker chips. You're trying to determine the ranking of your hand with very limited information. I am not going to give this a Daniel because I feel like the impact on other players. The big thing is how do you read the room and how do you figure out how you're going to play this? And the reason why I say that I'm not going to give this a Daniel is because while there are those moments where I see you going, real low, you're like low ranking hand, and then one card comes up and I see it change to a high ranking hand, like that tells me that has some correlation with what you have. But again, I have to figure that out, and every player has to figure that out, and we all have to figure out how ours compares to that point. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that's easily done. I don't think there's a lot of depth to it, and if you were one of the fans of Texas Hold'em because you like the bluffing, there is no bluffing in this. That's not the point of this game. So I'm not going to give this a Daniel personally because I don't think it has meaningful choice, despite how much you can understand from the depth. It's almost there. It has tactics, but you don't have impact on other players, and it does lead to the arbitrary choice because you're just dealt 2 cards, and you don't have control over that. Mm-hmm. So how do you just portray that information by picking a chip? That's why it doesn't get 1 for me. So that's a meaningful choice.
Ease of play.
Ease of play. So ease of play talks about the simplicity and familiarity with the mechanisms. Likelihood to get to the table based on the mechanism or theme, and is it easy to understand, learn, or teach? If you already know poker, you know this game. So it hits simplicity and familiarity, and easy to learn, understand, and teach. And even if you don't know poker, teaching the idea of just the better the card combination, the better your hand is. That is not a difficult thing to teach in general. I know there are people, like you said, your wife didn't know poker before it. And that's something that, like, after a few hands of, 5-card draw, that would be an easy fix, right? And because everyone's familiar with a deck of playing cards, at least, right? And so the likelihood to get to the table, which is probably the only thing I might knock it on, the theme, this is super attractive, right? This shiny cover. The theme, it's cool, your gang, doing a big heist of a bank. That's pretty fun. It doesn't fulfill that theme that much, but likelihood to get to the table, yeah, it's possible. So I would give this a thumbs up for me. Or a Daniel for ease of play.
For ease of play, simplicity and familiarity with the mechanism. This is going to be good for people who know poker, our generation. Because when I was in college, I'm a few years older.
Pokers were huge when I was in high school.
Oh yeah, so it is there, but that's also a very niche thing too. I know people who know blackjack more than they know poker. My wife being one of them.
Sure.
So there is that. You have that. The likelihood to get to the table, this is where I'm getting the draw, and I don't think it's going to be a Daniel for me, is because when you mention poker or a deduction game or a co-op, some people are very hesitant about it. You and me were like, go on. But I've met people who were like my wife. She was very hesitant to play this game, even though I wanted to play it with that group that I have. She was very hesitant to play it. Now she likes it, but it took me a little while to get them to warm up to the concept. So I can't really give it to that unless you're a poker player. But for me, I'm going to go ahead.
It was almost a deterrent.
Yeah, it was a deterrent because it is poker.
Yep.
And is it easy to learn, understand, or teach? And I'm going to knock it off a point here because even though the game is easy to teach, you still have to teach poker to people who don't know poker.
Right.
And they don't know the ranking system.
And not just poker. Texas Hold'em poker is a whole new
different
beast.
style, yeah. Because you only start with 2 cards, and then 3 cards come out, and then a 4 card, and then a 5th card. And you got to teach how that works because you're just trying to make a combo based on the 5 cards on the table plus the 2 cards that are in your hand.
And only 5 of those 7.
Yeah, out of the 7, yeah. So that for me is the big knock there because I taught it to 2 people who never played poker before. Mm-hmm. And so it took a little while. My teach was about 30 to 45 minutes, and that is just playing the introductory game too, just to teach them poker. I have not even introduced the extra cards yet to that group because I want them to get familiar with poker. Now, they're getting better at it, and so I may introduce the new stuff with it, but it's taken them a little bit to figure out, especially the 2 players, like me and my other friend, his name is Angel. He's fine with it. You and me have played poker.
Yeah, sure.
Poker's big. And our other group played poker because we're all in the same age range. Yeah. That's when Texas Hold'em was really big.
Yeah.
And so we're familiar with it, but people who are not familiar, or you say you're teaching your kids to play this game, because it is relatively easy once they know how to play it. And so for me, I can't give it to Daniel for that simple reason. Because I had to teach new people poker, Texas Hold'em poker, before I could really get into this game.
You have to teach them a different game before you teach them this game, right? Yeah, which is weird. That's one of the few things about this game that is unique, right? All right, now on to replay value.
All right, and we're talking about length of time and scaling well. Minimum number of plays for the full experience, and expandability. And this is another one that is not getting a Daniel from me. And the reason being, the length of time and scaling well, it's fantastic. It's fine. It plays really quick. It's a good little filler game that you can get done in 30 to 45 minutes. It's the minimum number of plays the full experience. Once you know how to play poker, the only difference is how the cards shuffle. And then, for a fact, I don't know if there is an expansion coming out for this game, especially with the passing of one of the designers. So that's why, because it's not going to get 2 of the 3 for me, it's not going to get a Daniel, though I do adore what this game does. It doesn't hit the replay value. I bring it out because it fills that filler. It doesn't fill where I'm going to get more for it. And honestly, I don't know how you can add more for it unless you get more special powers. That's about it.
Right. Yeah, so it actually is going to get one from me because I do feel like it scales really well. It plays 3 to 6, and it does, approximately about 20 minutes total. It's a little bit longer for 6 players, but not much, right? And so there's more information, there's more that come out, there's more deliberation, which is pretty fun. And the thing that we disagree on, I agree with, there's no expansion, so there's no more that you can play on top of it. But the minimum number of plays, I love teaching this game as its base without special abilities to a lot of people. And when they really start getting that honing in of like the group that I'm playing with, this is why people play bridge so much, is because they learn. It's like, well, if I lead with a 9 of hearts, suddenly you know exactly like the other like cards in my hand.
Yeah.
How do you know that? People who played it to that point have a new language of how they play or it gives out that much information. And this kind of does that. But for the people who don't even get to that point, those cards that if you win a round, it gives you what would you call it? Like it's holding you back a little bit.
A deterrent?
I guess a
handicap.
A handicap, yeah. It's giving you a hindrance or a handicap to make it so the next rounds are a little bit harder. But then when you lose a round, it gives you a benefit, an ability that you can use for the next round. I love that. I think that makes it really good. And it's a big stack of cards. It's almost as big as the deck itself, right? And so that is going to come out in different ways. How you play and how that helps you out will make it just super replayable. And the fact that it's so portable, I think it gets replay value for me. So it gets a Daniel from me.
All right, with that being said, we think the game is a fantastic game personally.
Yep.
It also gets a 7 out of 10 from us.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 Daniels. So we hope you've enjoyed our review. Like and comment and tell us why you either agree or disagree with how we ranked it. Again, if it's like your favorite game in the world, tell us why we're wrong. We love that internal conflict on our channel. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, all of those. Search for
Also,
Everyday Board Games.
Most podcast platforms if you want to listen to our podcast.
That's right. So, as always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And every day is a good day for board gaming.